Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So earlier today, I saw this article on CNN Politics. The article is entitled Retired Justice Stevens Argues for Repeal of the Second Amendment. So what I want to do is read some excerpts from this article and then I'm going to provide my commentary. So it says, retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens believes the students and the demonstrators who protested this past weekend for gun control should seek a repeal of the Second Amendment. The article goes on to say this: a concern that a national standing army might pose a threat to the security of the separate states led to the adoption of that amendment. Today, that concern is a relic of the 18th century. The article goes on to say this, it mentions the landmark decision of District of Columbia versus Heller that held that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm for self-defense within his home. And Justice Stevens says this, he says, that decision, which I remain convinced was wrong and certainly was debatable, has provided the NRA with a propaganda weapon of immense power. He goes on to say this: overturning that decision via constitutional amendment to get rid of the Second Amendment would be simple and would do more to weaken the NRA's ability to stymie legislative debate and block constructive gun control legislation than any other option. So this is my response to that. In his comments, he refers to a propaganda weapon of immense power being used by the NRA. And the ironic thing is, this article that he wrote in the New York Times, which is cited here, essentially is going to be used as a propaganda weapon by the NRA to suggest that these liberals want to take away or abolish the Second Amendment. That's the argument that these people have been making, and all that Justice Stevens has done is given these people more propaganda talking points. Because if we can't pass simple, reasonable gun control laws, what makes anybody in their right mind actually believe that you're going to get Congress to repeal the Second Amendment? All he has done by making this outlandish statement is give these people in the NRA a talking point to run with. All he has done is reinforce the fears of those right-wing members of the NRA. And this is going to energize them. It's going to make them more vigorous and more persistent and more vigilant in their fight against reasonable gun control laws. So that's the problem that I have with this. And then just the idea of repealing the Second Amendment, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea for only the state to have weapons, for only police officers and military personnel to have weapons, because essentially that renders the people powerless in the face of the state. It creates a situation that is ripe for dictatorship. People should have the right to hunt if they choose to. People should have the right to protect themselves in their homes and outside of their homes. So I think that this is a wrong position to take, and I think that all it does is help groups like the NRA. It serves as a propaganda tool that they will no doubt use. Because as long as the military and the police are the only ones with arms, that means the people are not safe. I mean, as an African American, we know about the police brutality that our people suffer from in this country, all the countless killings of black people. And then we also know about vigilante groups, these domestic terrorists who commit acts of violence against our people. So I believe that black people, just like any people, should have the right to bear arms and to defend themselves. And by taking away the Second Amendment, they will be depriving us of that right. Just like during the 60s, when they saw that black people were standing up and defending themselves, taking up arms against police that were brutal in the community, they decided to repeal the right for people to bear arms in California to carry arms and stuff like that. And, I just think that this is a terrible idea, and I think that it is going to, again, ignite the right in their fight against reasonable gun control laws. I think that those young people, they did the country a service by participating in that march, and I think they're more important than any op-ed pieces in the New York Times or any march. What we need is for people to march to the ballot box. What we need is those young people who are turning of age. We need them to turn out at the polling places, just like they turned out in Washington, D.C. That's what we need. And we need them to understand the issues and vote out these puppets of the NRA. So those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.